Alright, let's get this thing done today. It is about time I finish it. I've got the parts that I need, got the female USB-C port, and I just need to solder it in, and then I've got to glue it in somehow. I didn't think that part through. Not sure what kind of glue I'll use. I'll probably end up just using hot glue. I mean, this isn't expected to be in a situation where temperatures around it would get so hot that hot glue can't hold it. I hope. That's a broken wire. Did I break that wire? Oh no. I don't see any other broken wires. Hopefully I didn't break that wire.
Watch this, I'ma show you how I do it. Like a pro, gotta hustle, get through it. No sweat, look good when I'm moving. I'ma rise, and this a little.
Yeah.
After putting this project on hold for months at a time... Oh, let's just try again. Alright, let's just say we finish cutting the hole in that metal plate. Then we're going to tidy up those edges and drill holes to mount the fan. Then screw it in.
I'm not sure if you can hear that or not, but the fan is making a bit of an odd noise. I did notice it before I put all this back together, but I guess I was kind of hoping that it would just magically stop for some reason. But it hasn't, and if anything it's gotten louder now that it's attached to the case like this. So I'm going to have to find a different fan. But, good thing about that, is I've got lots of them.
Well, I tried a different fan. A few of them, actually, and yeah, they all make noise because I'm sort of expecting silence.
I can still feel airflow coming out of it, so I'll definitely have to put something on here, maybe a little chip here, so that I can get a screwdriver and adjust its speed.
Let's skip to that, shall we?
Okay, I've had a little nap, and I've decided I'm just going to run the power internally. I mean, it already had two fans in there that were capable of just pumping out that air to push it through here, so it definitely has the power allocation to run a couple of high-powered fans, so it will definitely have the power allocation to run this single reasonably low-powered fan. The 48 port switch that is currently in the wardrobe has a couple of fans in there that are just constantly whirling, and I hear it when I lay down in bed at night. I hear it when I'm sitting at my computer with nothing playing out of the speakers. I hear it when I stand in the hallway for a couple of seconds, waiting as someone comes out of a door so I can go through the door. It is quietly loud. Oh, did I tell you? I've decided I'm not going to try and find a way to put something on the side to mount it, you know, like normal people usually mount this kind of stuff, because it didn't come with ears. And I was going to take the current switch's ears and drill new holes so that it lined up with this, but historically I haven't always been quite accurate enough with that, especially for something like this. So, instead, I'm going to drill a couple holes on the back
No sweat, look good when I'm moving.
and use a couple wood screws to screw this into the little wooden panel and lock it in place.
With the circuit already soldered on, I remove the old power plug from it. I grab a bit of cable and tack it onto the end of that and splice into a power cable that is set up to connect the power board and the actual network board together. This is running at 12 volts with a 2 amp capacity, as well as drilling those new mounting holes. The Osmo Pocket lost the first half, but here I'm finishing off installing the network switch to the wall and plugging in all the network cables again.
Oh, I can finally lay down in bed and I can't hear anything from the network closet.
Admittedly, the window's open and a storm is starting to arise. But aside from that, it's pretty silent in here. Here's a little before and after. I know it's not the most accurate, but it's something. Also, checking out the temperatures, everything was nice and low. It's all managing its temperatures and able to operate easily. Mail time. While this is a large package, essentially, I believe this only has one thing in it. Or at least one little kit, so to speak. Package. In a package. Oh, hey, look at that. Got some transistors just stuck to the bottom, hanging out. And I think these transistors are specifically designed for a 3.3 volt data signal rather than, I don't know, I guess other ones are sort of more designed for 5 volt or a little bit more universal than that. This time, I got a harness kit. I had a look online and I wanted to get a harness kit just for some video ideas I've got coming up. Purely for safety, it's not necessarily needed, but without it, one, it's a little bit dangerous, and two, the law would probably have a problem with it. It does have some information here, like the max load is 22 kilonewtons, so that's 2,200 kgs of force applied to this. Oh, I didn't realize that those would be permanently attached. Okay. That doesn't just sort of spring back where it's supposed to, does it? At least it's got that locking thing, which is really necessary, because if it's not locked and it can open like that easily, this can get hooked onto something, and then if the rope comes up like that, look at that, it's already in perfect position, and then it gets pulled and look, it's open. So if this is just on the right angle, it can get yanked, pulled, and come off of a hook very easily. I can't tell what is the top and what's the bottom. I don't know what part wraps around the legs. Maybe the blue part, so maybe it goes on... Hang on a minute. That's like that. I'm going to say these are shoulder things. So that goes over your shoulder. Have to make sure you're fully adjusted. If you don't, get right in there, in between your nuts and your leg, then something is going to be crushed. And there we go. Look at that. Got this harness on. I can clip myself in and I'm safe. Here we go. I can safely work here with my nice AliExpress harness kit. Just gotta unlock that and then I'm locked in and I'm ready to go. Yeah, that's good. There we go. And I can still move around quite a fair amount with this. Yeah, there we go. It's mail time. Just got this little harness kit here so that I can lean out the back of a car going down the highway filming other cars driving. I've lived here for about 4 to 5 months now, and I haven't actually set any of this up, really. The TV works. That's it. None of these speakers are hooked up. None of this is actually plugged in. Nothing's actually going on here. So, I've just had a thought, just a random idea. Usually these subs are powered by an external amp, but that is a 7.1 channel AVR, HT693 Oakland. Onkyo, sorry.
Onkyo. It's not a pair of glasses. And I've got technically 6 channels of speakers right here. See, these tall speakers can take 2 channels, a high and a mid. And then, of course, I've got the sub on the ground for pure bass. And then that's mirrored on the other side. Yes, I know this sub is black and that one's red. I want to address that eventually and purchase another sub that's the same colour purely for the looks. But that being completely ignored, I've got 6 channels of speakers there. Adding a centre speaker will make it 7, which should technically take up all the channels. That said, I don't actually know if I can reassign the surround sound channel to be a front speaker. It is super customizable. I just don't know if it's capable of that. I've got a handful of cables here. Speaker wire, HDMI and Ethernet so that I can get that amp all hooked up. If I do find that the surround sound channel can't be reassigned, repurposed to be a front speaker channel, then I do have the option of using this. It's a pair of crossover circuits. I got it in a previous mail time, like a long time ago. Way back at the beginning when I first moved into this house. Now, what this will do is allow me to turn one channel into 2 channels, essentially. A high and a low, which should be good for these speakers. Originally, I was running just the one whole speaker on one channel, but I noticed that the tweeter speaker at the top, during some bassier scenes of a movie and stuff, I would hear a little crackle coming from it, which I'm sure is not good for the health of the speaker at all. I don't know if it's the volume or the noise or the frequency or what was actually causing that issue, but I do feel like if I am giving it what it's expecting rather than what I want to give it, then it should be able to perform a little better. The other side of me wanting to hook the subs straight up to that amp is because initially I just had an old stereo that was acting as a sub amp, and I just had it turned pretty much all the way up, coming from an RCA output from the AVR. I have had a look in the instruction manual for this amp, and I have found it's not possible. It's crazy. It's got 7.1 output plus zone 2 with a zone 2 amp. But I cannot run a 7.1 output plus the zone 2 amp. It has to be a 5.1 output plus the zone 2 amp. And the other side of that is the zone 2 can't always mirror what is happening on the main output if the main output is a surround sound Dolby input that's coming out of the main zone 1, essentially. I'll just call it zone 1 and zone 2. You can't always mirror zone 1 to zone 2 because zone 2 is only 2 channels and zone 1 is 5.1 or 7.1 depending on the configuration set up. Long story short, I cannot do what I was hoping to do. I just explained everything and forgot to hit record. Anyway, to make this setup work how I'm hoping and wanting it to work, I'm going to be using this stereo here as the sub amplifier. It's got this single cable here for the RCA input, which is both the left and right channel. This will be connected to the single sub output channel from the AVR, and I'll use its 2 audio outputs, 2 speaker outputs to connect to the 2 subs. Unfortunately, these subs won't be working in a left and right channel setup. It'll just be mono, but that's fine.
Of course, I do have another idea of how I want to set up this sub amp so that I can make sure that it is controlled via Home Assistant. Of course, this amp that I'm using has 0 smart properties. It is not able to be controlled by Home Assistant. I don't even have the TV remote for it. I mean, the IR remote control for it. So, there is no control over these subs whatsoever. But the main thing of today is getting everything in place, because changing out this amp once I've built the new amp and power system for it is going to be the easy part. Building it is the long, tedious, hard part. But today's goal is to get the speakers that are here all set up and working, get this amp installed, get the subs pumping, and still have 2 channels left over so that I can hook up the surround sound eventually.
So I'm not actually hearing any noise out of this bottom driver, which is making me question, is it even a speaker? Or is this just a floppy bit there to enhance the bass? Oh my god! This isn't even connected! This is a speaker without a driver. Look, it's got the whole thing there, just doesn't have the part to push the speaker in and out. Gosh. This is just there for looks. This isn't doing anything. I mean, technically, it is doing something. It is helping to enhance and improve the bass and the responsiveness and blah blah blah. It's not a real speaker, so I would consider these to be a surround sound speaker. I would expect my front main speakers to have 2 main drivers in it. Can't forget the center speaker. Last but certainly not least, cable management, and I'll be disconnecting that old security camera that is out the front that I replaced in a previous video. And that's about it. This is pretty much my minimum tidiness factor, where seeing cables is at as low a chance as possible. Even the cables coming down from the back of the TV, you can really only see those 2 over there, and that's because they're just a little too short for me to push it over here to the middle behind the center speaker, where I've got a handful of cables going down. Same with cables here. I kind of don't like that I can see this here, but it's only a couple of them, and that's fine. It's nothing compared to the bottom hole, which is feeding all the speakers and stuff into this. And then even underneath, look at that. Speaker wire going nicely along the edge of the wall. Here's the point where it comes down. I try to keep them all together there. And even the network cable and the power cable are reasonably tidy there. And as you saw, everything along the back of this was nicely cable managed and tied up. Of course, this corner here is also reasonably nice and tidy. Obviously, the next upgrade will be the center speaker. This little speaker came with a little Samsung surround sound thing, and
I've attempted a couple of times at upgrading the center speaker. Of course, I am looking for a very, very specific looking speaker, which makes it a lot harder to come by, especially at the price that I'm wanting to spend on it. People are always trying to make me spend as much as possible on things, and I want to spend as little as possible on things. As mentioned before, now it is finally time for me to remove this original front security camera that I had set up here basically day one, just running a simple cable in through the window, which is lightly propped open so it doesn't completely crush the cable, but I did also choose a very thin cable to run there. Look what outside life has done to this plug and cable. Stuff is not made to work and live out here. Here we go. And that's that camera all done. Time for this to find a new home for operation around the house. Now this is still dog's days. It's right at the beginning, so I haven't done any crazy advanced things with the setup now that I've got this AVR installed. But the installation and integration is very easy. It was easily added to my Home Assistant server, and I've already chucked in a couple of really good controls. Now this is my usual control panel, which gives me a few hotkey controls, and I've added this button at the bottom, which will toggle the AVR on and off. That's it. That's all that button does. It doesn't need to do anything else. You see, I've already got this entertainment center volume control, which is connected to a number helper, which increases and decreases that. And an automation is what actually does the volume changing. So when I press the volume up on here, you'll see that the volume goes up on the TV with the same increments. 22 here, 22 there. So now that I've turned on the AVR is going to turn on. And when it turns on, it receives the set volume value so that it's at the correct volume that closely matches the TV's output volume, just so you're not getting too much startling things happening. And to be honest, that's more or less all that it needs to be done to set it up. The TV is handling switching between HDMI 1 and 3, which is the Chromecast, and the PlayStation 4. Nothing else is really happening with the AVR, though one button I will be adding in the short near future will be a Bluetooth button to allow me to connect my phone via Bluetooth to the AVR so that I can play music. Other than that, the other key button that is on this control is this big button at the top. This button, when held down for a sec, will give a short vibrate, you let go, and it will shut down everything here. It turns off and disconnects the Chromecast, it turns off the TV, and it turns off the AVR, making sure everything stays pretty well in sync.